able to kick things off. I think, Greg, you're pretty aware of the challenges, so the testnet challenges. So we're just waiting for one of our colleagues to jump on, but he can jump on here in a minute. But I think I can get things kicked off in the meantime while we wait for him to get set up. So cool. I want to thank everyone for joining today's Twitter Spaces. This is a big one, really exciting one. We have a couple of folks here from Akash listening in. We have Greg, who I think most of you guys know in the call. He'll be covering some of his thoughts on this testnet from Akash. I want to introduce myself. My name is Adam Wozni. I head up community at Akash. I'll also be your host for today's conversation. This is an exciting one. We're going to be covering Week 1's rewards and challenges as a part of testnet. We're going to cover a handful of ones you guys should be aware of. We're going to cover some of the rewards you can get as a part of the testnet. And then we're also going to be answering questions. We want to leave a lot of time to answer questions. So I know, I'm guessing a handful of you guys and gals that have been kind of participating in testnet have been in our Discord. That's where most of our kind of support is. So we want to cover any questions that you guys haven't gotten answered or anything that you guys can think of in regards to testnet. While I try to work on getting our colleague Alani inside this Twitter Spaces event, let's do some quick intros. So for folks that don't know Greg, where have you been? Just kidding. But for folks that do know Greg, I thought it'd be maybe a good opportunity for you, Greg, to maybe quickly introduce yourself, let them know how you kind of got Akash up and going, and then we can kind of get into some of the challenges as a part of this testnet. So feel free to take it away, Greg.
My name is Greg Osuri. I'm the founder for Akash Network and Overclock Labs. Akash Network is essentially a open market for unused cloud computing resources. And we launched Akash about 12 months ago, or 11 months ago, and it's been thriving. What we launched originally is an MVP, or a minimum viable product. And the idea was to show the world that you can actually have a viable alternative, a decentralized alternative to the centralized cloud, which is dominated by Amazons and Googles of the world. And we were able to do that really well. So the Akash network has been live and up and running for 11 months, and we had zero incidents in terms of stability. And majority of and I think if you had to tie back, the stability of Akash really comes from this rigorous testing, a religion we have here. And we were not the original designers of these testnets. It was really adopted from Cosmos's game of stakes, the incentivized testnets. But the incentivized testnets really allow us to test software in the real world with real users, and and push the limits as to how far of the network. That gives a lot of stability, uncovers any bugs that we may have pushed, and gives us an amazing product. So we've done these incentivized testnets, several of them, right? This is the third one. The first one allowed us to launch the blockchain. The second one allowed us to launch the platform, the deployment platform. And the third one, which is our biggest update since our platform launch, is allowing us to give you this amazing feature, which is persistent storage. And those of you that don't know what this is, so far, like I mentioned, Akash has been, primarily an MVP product, which demonstrates the capabilities and lets you deploy applications, that do not have heavy storage requirements, because the key element we needed to test was the stability of a container platform. So essentially, we built a platform where you could run a Docker container without storage. What I meant is with ephemeral storage. But now we have network attached storage. That means you can have high performance storage attached to your applications and actually have a reliable storage ability. So you can host databases, you can host massive nodes like blockchain nodes, or you could, which pretty much covers most of the applications that are out there. So I'm very, very excited for this testnet. I know that was a long introduction, but here's how we got to where we're doing, what we're doing.
No, definitely appreciated. And it looks like we actually got our second guest in here, Alani. So I'm going to send you a speaker invite, Alani. Feel free to jump in and introduce yourself. No, and it looks like he just jumped off. So while we wait for him, I thought it'd be great to maybe kind of start to jump into the challenges. So basically, today's agenda is we want to cover a handful of the challenges that are happening in week 1 as a part of this 2-week test net. And then we want to answer as many and as many questions as you guys have all about testnet 3. Speaking on behalf of the Akash team, and as a post I put on a Discord, I don't know if it's exactly 1 million hours of work that's gone into this, but quite a lot of work on the back end. So we're really excited to actually be launching it today. Really exciting to have. I think this is definitely, and Greg, correct me if I'm wrong, this is definitely the most successful launch of our testnet already, with the amount of interest, how many participants have signed up, wanting to get involved. So we're really, really excited for this testnet. I'm gonna give one more. Yeah, go ahead and jump in, Greg, while I try to get Alani on here.
Right. So, I mean, this has been amazing. Like, as you know, if you're in the Cosmos ecosystem, you've probably been following launches, how they're going. There seem to be a launching and not so much focus on rigorously testing, right? And we inherently think that's bad. And the outcome is obviously what you're seeing right now, with several projects trying to launch and failing to launch. Or worst is actually several projects actually launch and have exploits in smart contracts and whatnot, right? So uh, I think this testnet really, I mean, I think the practice of rigorously testing with real users and real use cases is very, very important. And so far, we're able to attract over 8,000 participants. This is by far the biggest testnet for Akash, for sure, but I think has to be one of the largest testnets in the Web3 space itself. So I'm very, very excited. So 8,000 people will be rigorously testing, deploying different applications that use different storage, and actually some of the challenges also test the limits as to how much you can push the network as well. So super excited. And this week we have roughly, I would say, about 17 challenges that we published this morning. And the rewards for participating in total is about $200,000. This week, we're giving about $82,000, right? Um, I can get into different details, and really, well, the big feature we're testing, to begin with, along with persistent storage, of course, is inflation decay. So on Akash, the inflation that we originally proposed in the white paper was on a decay curve, right? So the inflation means the tokens being emitted goes down as every block period. And so far, we've been essentially adjusting, delivering a decay curve using manual adjustments that's on chain. And these adjustments may not track exactly to the original inflation decay curve we proposed in the white paper because these are manual adjustments. So now we have in the testnet an automatic decay curve that's deployed, and these adjustments will happen automatically, and thereby bringing a lot more stability and predictability to the inflation decay curve. This is the first time I believe something like this is implemented in Cosmos. And we'll also be giving this out as a module, open sourcing it, so other Cosmos projects can adopt this and implement a decay curve function themselves, which is super exciting. So the first challenge is testing that capability out, and we're having about 1,000 people. It's a very fair. The testing for this feature is not that complicated because it's really testing whether we can change inflation or not, and we want about 1,000 people to go vote on these proposals. If you're not on it, you should definitely get in there and vote on a proposal. Second big feature that we will launch is authorized spend. Authorized Spend allows for um, a different user to spend tokens to deploy. And this is very important when you have large teams or teams, of people that are deploying, right? So generally, when you have bigger companies, you don't have the same people that deploy, means engineers pay for the resources. So you have payments, the people that handle payments separate from people that actually do the deployments, right? And you want collaboration, you want that level of decoupling of responsibilities in teams. Now, with this authorized spend feature, we'll be able to have the decoupling in a very smooth way on Akash, and this also lets us do amazing things. Like we can actually now implement amazing UIs where we can process payments using credit cards. So what that means is you can actually have payment processor, you know, and the tokens part handled by let's say, a centralized authority, a managed authority, whereas the teams can still operate on the open, on the Akash network without having to deal with tokens, right? So this allows for a significantly better user experience, and you can build amazing features on top of this decoupled, you know, uh, token operation capability, and so this testing, the second set of challenges this week is to test this Authorized Spend. Again, we have participate on it. It's off the basis. And the the third set is to uh, actually test the adversarial conditions. So if you want to, this is a pretty big security update we did with Authorized Spend. Letting someone spend money on your behalf is kind of scary if you think about it. So we want to make sure that we have absolute security around this. So the third set of challenges are to incentivize folks to break this security model. And if you can, we're going to actually incentivize it pretty heavily. So go try and break it, and let's go test the security feature. The fourth set of challenge is to to test the big one, the stateful workload. So here you're required to run an application, an application that actually uses state, um, and state in the sense storage capability, and and uh, we expect it to have some sort of a real world use case, and we are, I think, limiting the submissions to about 500 users. So really running an application that leverages state. And we have forgot to mention a lot of these also have bonus rewards. So if complete if you're first to complete the first 10, gets extra, extra points or extra tokens, and next 20 get first 10, I guess we gets about 100 tokens, next 20, 75, and the next after gets about 50. While you're doing this, there are also incentives for you to actually write about it, publish content. So there's the reward schedule is actually published on our Twitters. Please make sure to check that out to get an idea as to what different incentives are. So that pretty much covers up our first week of challenges. Again, next week we'll release new set of challenges, a lot more challenging than what we have in the first week. So please look forward to them.
Yes, thank you so much, Greg, for that. Yeah, to get more information on all the different challenges and the rewards associated with it, just head over to akash.network/testnet, and that's where you can sign up. You can learn more about the challenges, how to participate, and all those things. So we wanted to leave a lot of time for folks listening in to ask some questions. Today is launch day of Testnet 3. So we wanted to try to spend as much time answering some questions that you guys maybe have for Greg or other members. There are a few other members of the Akash team in this call. We can get them in if need be. But if you do have a question for Greg, feel free to make a speaker request, and I'll get you in on the conversation. Maybe we could, while we wait for those questions to come in, Maybe Greg, you could talk about kind of some of the things you're excited to see, maybe some of the use cases in terms of these challenges and what they'll kind of enable.
Right. So, I mean, like I said, before it was not ideal to host database based applications, right? For example, if you were to host a WordPress website that uses a MySQL database, you have to, you know, make sure your backups are up to date, right? To the second. If you don't have backups up to the second, you may not you may actually lose that, right? Um, during fault tolerant scenarios. What that means is like in order the reason why Akash is extremely stable is because it's hyper fault tolerant. What that means is when applications go down for whatever reason, there could be a million reasons, applications go down. When applications go down, Akash will try to restart the application in the best possible way, and it succeeds, I would say, 99% of the time. So that's where the fault tolerance capability of Akash comes not by avoiding faults, which is impossible, but actually recovering really quickly. So it's a self-healing system, right? And so far, what we delivered with Akash was like it self-heals the application layer, but it does not heal the storage layer because the storage is a completely different uh, ball game compared to the application layer, right? So with this persistent storage feature, that we have fault tolerance on storage, right? And the way we deliver that is by separating storage away from compute. So you can actually attach network storage. Data center providers now can bring in extra storage to Akash. So what this enables is massive storage. Like you can do terabytes, if not petabytes of storage, right? So a big applications you're going to see quite a bit is, I think, just database-based applications like WordPress, that can run very efficiently. You'll be able to run a lot of the storage networks. I think Arweave and Saya coins and all the storage networks running on top of Akash, right? And you're going to see other validators like Solana, which have huge storage requirements running on Akash. You're going to see a full nodes, I mean, entire Cosmos ecosystem nodes. We have a package called Omnibus, you know, which makes it super simple to run, run like Cosmos SDK based nodes on Akash can run very smoothly. So you're just going to have much faster storage that's going to be enabled with this feature, which is super critical for if you're looking to compare like your traditional cloud, right? Like to Akash, this kind of completes a big gap that we had with the traditional cloud, and definitely a big milestone for Akash.
Yeah, I know the community's been asking for these features for quite a while, so this is really exciting stuff. So cool. So we have a guest request for a question, and I think it's a familiar face. So Sistla, I'm sure I'm saying your name wrong. I apologize. Feel free to unmute your microphone, introduce yourself, and ask your question for Greg.
Yep, you got the name right, so no problem with that. Hi, Greg. Very
Hey,
nice
Sister.
to very nice to actually interact. And like I've as soon as the blog post came out about the incentivized testnet, the first thing that I saw was the use of HotZ for deployment.
Yep.
That was like pretty interesting. I'm personally have been a huge fan since Zaki started talking about it, and since we saw these updates in like 45, the Vega update. Uh, so that has been pretty interesting, and of course, like from OmniFlix standpoint, the persistent storage, right?
Mm-hmm.
So from just a question that I had, now when we are looking to actually store content, we of course utilize run IPFS nodes
Mm-hmm.
and some of the other nodes, like you mentioned, RVs here. Now, like, what is the file system that's powering the current persistent storage? And I read a bit
Mm-hmm.
about it. I think it was Chef, right? Like Chef or Shelf. I just
Oh, the
you know
current underlying, I mean, it's block storage. right? So I think we have
Right.
Surf, which is
Mhm.
underlying technology. Basically, it
Right.
gives you block storage like you get on Amazon, EBS storage. Very similar.
Right. And would this be in some way useful for CDN based applications, or is it only for the origin,
No,
that we might
absolutely.
serve?
You can actually build a CDN on top now with this new feature. That's a very good question. So for those of you who don't know what CDN is, CDNs are content delivery networks. So CDNs are used for uh, distributing content across the world so that number one, you have high performance while downloading content. Number two, you have more reliability because you have multiple copies of content all over the world. So CDNs allow, so the reason why Netflix is fast is because they have highly distributed video or content all over the world using CDNs, right? So Akash now, effectively by enabling persistent storage, you can actually build a very modern CDN on top of Akash, ideally decentralized, which will be really cool. Um, that can leverage this persistent storage. Yeah, absolutely. And you can, another very important point you brought up, just like, which is running IPFS nodes. Like, yes, you can totally run IPFS nodes now on Akash, which is very exciting.
Yeah, that's perfect. Actually, we are currently for Omniflix, we are running public IPFS nodes
Uh-huh.
to store the NFT content. We didn't want to keep it a private swarm. At the same time, we are also utilizing Cloudflare CDN to
Yeah,
be able to deliver faster, right?
yeah,
So all the previews are being indexed, caged, to be delivered. So we when we are doing like more and more of these, wanted to understand how it can work. So now that I got the answer,
yeah.
definitely we'll build on top of this layer. I mean, we've always been waiting for this layer. I've asked Boz and Adam also about these earlier, and this is pretty exciting.
That's
So
amazing.
you know,
I'm super excited that you're excited. Yeah, I'd love to help you in any way. Like, we can discuss about in terms of like how do you replicate Cloudflare type of capability. But I'd love to see Omniflix, leverage this capability. I think it's that's a great use case. And you should be able to run IPFS nodes for significantly cheaper than what you're running on Amazon, right? Or other cloud providers now.
yep,
And as you know, Akash is like what, 90% cheaper now than the big guys. So being
right.
able to leverage the same cost model, is just going to open up a lot more doors, a lot more, yeah, capabilities.
Yep, that's great. That's great. Thank you, Greg. Like, yeah, currently we're using a mix of, GCP, Swansea's nodes, as well as, one other data center in Germany. So, yeah, we are just, experimenting. But at the same time, we were like, as soon as I read this, my first thought was, with all the computation capabilities, we were looking to be able to encode, content faster and
Hmm.
like for much cheaper, so that like at least real time content operations or media operations are sorted. And once that's done, we were looking at considering it for origin storage. But now
Yeah.
that you mentioned CDN as well, I think we can utilize this for the entire stack. So
So,
yeah.
so we got to be careful on the CDN because Cloudflare has
Mhm.
been around for like 20 years, right? They obviously have a lot more distribution networks. I think they have like 100 different points, right? We
Right.
don't have 100 different points yet. We will in the future. So ideally, you want to build. Um, the challenge, I think, is going to be really making Cloudflare and Akash work together. I mean, I think that's a cool challenge we can work on together, right? Like instance smoothing. So maybe for certain regions you can have like Akash, which is just cheaper. Certain regions you can have Cloudflare, right? And yeah, but right, but yes, we can, love to take this offline and get more details and nuances. But definitely for origin storage, I think that's going to be that's the obvious one, right?
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah,
obvious one.
origin storage, definitely. And can
Yeah.
you give us an insight into the regions that are active from a storage standpoint right now?
No, we don't have the storage yet in action. So right now we have about 45 providers on Akash, right? I only know two providers, and I don't know the rest. And that's the decentralized nature of it. So the first one, I believe, well, Equinix, obviously. is a big one. And I think Lumen is another big one. So whatever regions, I mean, they have very well coverage in let me see, in US definitely, in Europe. Not sure about Asia, but I think there are other providers that, but Lumen has like heavy, massive, like 320 gigabyte like nodes, which are massive. It's more power, more distribution, really, from Lumen standpoint. But I think like Selectel is another big provider. I think that they're coming online, but we'll know how many providers like are going to have storage uh, after you go to mainnet, right? They're still in testnet.
Right.
Yep.
Got it. Good. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you for answering all these questions, and look forward to utilizing Akash a lot more, for Omniflix and to decentralized media. Yeah.
That's awesome. Thanks for your question, Tesla.
Cool. Yes. Thanks so much, Tesla. Akash Hearts Omniflex. All right. So we have another audience question. We got Black Cloud. Feel free to unmute yourself and ask your question for Greg. Oh, actually, looks like Black Cloud just jumped out. So if there are any other questions, feel free to make a speaker request, and we'll get Greg. To answer your question. Oh, and I do want to give a couple quick shouts out. I see the legend Coney Daddy in on the call. Shout out to Coney Daddy. Seen a lot of familiar faces here in the Twitter Spaces event today. Lamborghini, which is maybe one of my favorite Twitter profile pictures. So thank you guys for jumping into today's call. As a reminder, to get more information on Testnet 3, head over to akash.network/testnet, and that's where you can sign up. You can learn more. You can hear about you can read about our challenges and some of the rewards associated with them. So while we wait for, maybe we have a couple more minutes left here, I wanted to see if there was anything else you'd like to kind of cover, Greg, like maybe dropping some alpha on the next week's challenges. Not too deep, because we don't want to give away the goat, but getting some folks excited about what they can think about in terms of participating next week once we unleash those challenges.
All right, I'll try to be. Next week is going to be quite a bit of ecosystem projects, I think. So this week is basically testing like the core capabilities, but next week is testing these capabilities in real world, right? So you're going to see a lot of like traditional nodes that you're used to, probably like, running. I mean, there's a lot of conversation again about like, you know, the Infura FUD, right? You can see about like the the decentralized layer ones are not really decentralized when you have hyper centralized companies controlling these node infrastructure. So I think next week you're going to see quite a bit of capabilities being demonstrated in real world. So that's kind of alpha that I can give, but I feel like we should just wait for next week. If not, it'll leak out the challenges.
Totally. It's always good to jump into the Twitter Spaces, though. You get a little alpha when you join these. So thanks for covering that. So we got Black Cloud now. Black Cloud, feel free to introduce yourself and ask your question for Greg.
Hi, my name is Black Cloud. I'm a crypto enthusiast. I have been for a long time now, and also I'm a telecommunications engineer. I had basically two things I wanted to ask about. The first one is, well, that I have a podcast and some friends that have blogs, but we are Spanish speaking. So I wanted to know if those incentives you are having with the community to create content talking about Akash will also in some moment apply for Spanish content. That's the first thing.
I'm sorry. The incentives for I think I don't see a reason why not. I think we can do Spanish. I don't know if we have capability in our team to review Spanish content, do we?
Not really at this time. So we are looking. So at a high level, we do have a community program that I think a lot of the folks on the call might be familiar with, called the Akash Insiders Program. It's about 31 different kind of community leaders within the Akash community, and we do have folks all around the globe. Some Spanish speakers, some Japanese, Korean, Chinese, all over the world. We are looking to scale that out some. So Black Cloud, if you are interested in that particular thing, feel free to just send me or send the Akash Network a DM, and I can reach out and chat with you about that. But unless you're talking about specifically like testnet related content, is that what your question is around Black Cloud?
No, I was asking like general cache related content. Testnet might be included in that, but I personally, I'm very interested because I talk a lot about Cosmos in my podcast, in my personal crypto podcast. So I was thinking about making 1 or 2 episodes about the cache, especially because I have a lot of friends that are starting to study Rust and implement some stuff, and I wanted to tell them about Akash. So now that you mentioned that you have some incentives for that, I was asking because of that reason. But also, my second question is even more important for me. I've tried to push some companies to use Akash, but they all tell me the same problem. You were saying that Akash is way cheaper than any other cloud, right? But then those prices are not clear at all. Like there's not a single place where I can have an official Akash pricing thing, dynamic or static, that I can show to a company to tell them those are the prices that you're paying. And
Uh,
I don't know how can we get that.
Have you seen the akashlytics.com/price compare?
Yeah, that's not like those prices are not working well. If you go and use the cash price and go by just what it says there, a cash is more expensive than small VMs in some cases, in a lot of
Oh.
cases. But I know that reality is not that.
For a nano VM, for example, right? Amazon costs $4.25. And nano VM is like 512 megabytes RAM, 512 megabytes
Yeah,
storage, right? And Akash costs 48 cents generally. And if you go to the big ones, which is like 88% cheaper, if you go to the big ones where you have 16 gigabytes RAM, 1 gigabyte storage, it costs about $10 on Akash and it costs about $98 on Amazon.
you're saying akashlytics.com/price compare, right?
Yeah, forward slash price dash compare.
Then
Have you seen that?
yeah, the price says one UAKT.
One UAKT is one micro UAKT, micro AKT for that's the setting you do in your config file. But if you look at monthly cost, the dollar amount on top,
Yeah,
you see the nano costs about 48 cents, for nano instance, and Amazon same thing costs about $4.25.
yeah. Uh, I think the prices are more updated, but I like 3 weeks ago tried to show that to someone, and those prices did not correlate with the cash real pricing, and that's what was confusing to them, and that was the reason why they decided not to go ahead with with a cash, because it was a bit confusing for them. What is
You're
that?
saying you actually showed this website to them, and the
Yeah,
reality is
yeah.
different from what this website is?
They told
Interesting.
me this and another Akash and like the prices of Akash
Uh-huh.
and the consumption that the Akash web says and the prices did not match. That's what they showed me, and that's what was weird for them because this is not like the way we are advertising this is not toward normal businesses. This is not the way they're used to see pricing. Like I don't know if I'm forming my idea right, But
Mhm.
I've been trying to do this ever since Akash launched it and changed on some companies, and they always encounter some sort of thing that is not advertised to them in a way that others do. This is one of
Mm.
them. Now the prices are matching more than that time. That time it was a huge difference.
Yeah, I want to know how they are perceiving, because we'll be happy to help them figure out the pricing, right?
Yeah,
I think it's sort of like everybody understands pricing different, right? Like, so in cloud, you know, there is like basic VM pricing,
yeah,
right? And
I
there is
know. And
services
then
on top of that.
there's
Yeah.
some extra cost for whatever you want, more data per
Yeah,
month or
bandwidth and
your
whatnot.
disk,
Yeah.
etc. Yeah,
Yeah. So generally, like when you go to Akash there's also a deploy tool Akash has. When you actually put in like you can actually pick, what you want to deploy, or
yeah,
and you put some tokens into the wallet, and it'll tell you like you can run this application for X amount of years or X amount of months, how long you can run with the current balance. And the prices are very, very cheap, actually. Happy to like jump
yeah. I know.
on a call with
I've
them.
launched some stuff, and I know the prices are cheap,
Yeah.
but I want is to like something that it's like I can show them
Hmm.
exactly like better how the prices are working, because I don't want them to think that tomorrow Akash will just go to the freaking moon, and then whatever they're running, it's going to increase a lot in prices
Hmm.
because they cannot pay those in advance.
I see.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'd love to work with you on like
That's
how we can like advertise better. Absolutely. I mean, we don't advertise on the website, Akash website, the prices. We probably
yeah,
will.
I know.
We probably
Because
will. Yeah, because it's like so variable, right? Like Akash does a decent enough job, but again, I assume there's going to be some gap there on how they are coming up with pricing, right? And they have their own
yeah,
model as well. But I
so,
think yes, a better way to communicate prices is very, very important. That's a good point.
yeah.
It's a good feedback that will work better. And
And thank
I don't know
you.
if I told you this. We are also working on a stable coin on top
Oh,
of
nice.
Akash.
Yeah.
So that makes things a lot simpler. Instead of communicating
Yeah,
in AKT, we can be like,
that'll,
cost like
that'll,
$10,
that'll
right?
make it.
Yeah, and that's coming.
Because,
The
you
design
know,
for that is almost finalized, and we
at
should
the
be. Yeah, it's
and
huge.
at the end of the day, those decisions are not made by engineers. So the guys that made those are the guys with the suits, and
Yep.
they can get uncomfortable with things pretty quickly. So yeah,
No, totally with you. I'm
and
pretty
yeah,
excited.
I'll DM Cash Network about the other Spanish thing. I just wanted to say that, and thanks a lot, Greg, for answering this.
No
Thank
problem.
you
Thank you
both.
so much for the question. It's a very important question as well.
Cool. Thank you so much, Black Cloud. And oh yeah, you said Spanish. Where are you calling in from, Black Cloud?
Oh, I'm from Dominican Republic.
Ah, very cool. I think you're the first caller from Dominican Republic. So welcome. Glad you were able to make it. Cool. So we're running
Thank
up
you.
on time. Yeah, for sure. We're kind of running up on time here. So before we kind of jump off, I wanted to see, is there anything else you'd like to quickly cover, Greg, before I kind of wrap things up?
I think we covered pretty good. I think we're gonna be on the call next week as well. Also have
Yep.
Max here from Akash Lytics. If Max, you want to say a few words on how you're testing the pricing and whatnot.
Hey, Greg. Yeah, I just want to jump in and mention that the Akash Lytics pricing currently it's a manual process, so it's not up to date on on a daily basis. For example, we update it from time to time, so that's why maybe the prices are not exactly the same as the bids that you would see on the network. So just wanted to clarify that, but we do have on our roadmap to make that process automatic, so that it represents exactly the same price that you'll see on the network. and with more details. Because right now since the network is currently capped to some limits, we didn't bother putting like higher or bigger machines. So with the next mainnet, I guess we'll put some more details on the price compare page.
I know. I think it'd be also cool to compare storage now. Now they have storage, right? So
Yeah,
I think Lumen and all these are going to flood the market with like cheap storage, cheap high performance storage. And also, I heard on the grapevine that there are a lot of Chia miners that are actually want to become providers, and because Chia Network wants to, incentivize that. So we're going to see quite a lot of storage coming up on Akash, which is going to be super cheap. So pretty exciting times ahead.
for sure. And one last detail, I guess, I think it's mentioned on the testnet page that you can deploy with Akash on the testnet. We worked extra hard to make that happen in time. So the
Amazing.
features are all working except the authorized spend,
Mhm.
which we will publish an update probably early this week to for people to deploy with that feature.
That's awesome. Yeah, with Authorized Spend now we can start. I love to see like team collaboration, right? Invite team members. Like you can
Yeah.
do really cool stuff with that. I'm really excited what Akash is going to come up with
Yeah,
collaboration
we have
feature.
some crazy ideas to implement with the Oddsy feature. When we saw, I'm sure you saw the Restake app from Tom.
Yep. Yeah. It's awesome.
Basically the same feature, so it can be used for so many things. Maybe we had the idea to do it for like auto refill your deployment, something like.
Auto refill we could do. Man, I feel like we should enable Cosm Wasm on Akash. And so you can actually build a lot of features that you want right on top of Akash.
Yeah.
Like that'd be really cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Been ideas here.
We'll probably
Cool.
play with it in the future. So some alpha, I guess.
Some alpha. Cosm Wasm would be perfect actually.
Cool. Thank you, Akashalytics, for jumping in. And so there was one more question from someone that came in. Greg, do you have time to answer one more before we have to jump off?
Yeah.
All right. Great. So, Del Rey, feel free to introduce yourself and ask your question to Greg.
Thank you so much. Yes, in Finances, I currently work for a staking validator and happy to be part of the Testnet 3 guys. I don't know if you already covered this. I'm on the challenges page in the doc.akash.network. I see challenges from the inflation decay curve until a storage service provider. And I just wanted to ask if we have until the 20th to do all this, or if this just only for this week and on the next week we're gonna have more challenges. Thank you.
So a few challenges. I think we should also publish the deadline in the doc, but we publish another Google sheet that gives you the submission deadline. So challenges 1 to, I would say, 4, right? Like, or the deadline is Monday, March 14th, and 5 is next week deadline, right? So basically, the basic tasks of like inflation decay curve, authorized spend, there's another fractional UAKD I forgot to cover, and persistent storage. From a tenant standpoint, the deadline is Monday. From a provider standpoint, providing storage to Akash Network, that deadline is next week.
Got it. Thank you.
No worries. Thanks for the question.
Awesome. Thank you, Del Rey. And Del Rey, where are you calling in from?
I'm actually calling from the Dominican Republic as well.
Oh, wow. We got 2. I love that.
Yeah. Actually, the Cosmos community here is it's not like that big, but it's big enough to make a presence online. And yeah, happy to be working in the ecosystem with Black and many other great people.
Very cool. Well, this is exciting. We should definitely maybe do some community events over there sometime. Feel free to send me a DM. We can chat.
Will do. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you, Del Rey. And we do have one more. Let's do one final question from which I love your profile name too as well. San Hollow, which I keep thinking Han Solo, but love that name. Feel free to introduce yourself and ask your question for Greg.
Okay, hi guys. Thank you for letting me make one last question. I heard you before, Greg, saying that you're working on a stablecoin, and I was always of the idea that for all the transactions and the business being done on the Akash network, the Akash token is being used. So if there is to be a switch to a stablecoin, how could that affect like the Akash token? Will there be like not so much demand, or how could that affect it?
Yeah, so this stablecoin is not independent. It's dependent on AKT, right? It's not an independent stablecoin like USD. That means it does not have liquidity. So the only way to mint the stablecoin is by burning AKT. So you burn AKT and you mint the stablecoin, and vice versa, right? So burning AKT means taking AKT out of supply, which gives AKT its value. And if you want to access liquidity, you got to mint AKT from like burning the stablecoin, right? So it's like a and that stablecoin can only be used for deployments, and it doesn't have transferability basically.
Okay, perfect.
That means you can't send the stablecoin. Maybe we can have transferability, but the point is like the stablecoin is only used for deployments, and once in order to access liquidity for the stablecoin, you need to convert it back to AKT. So AKT will still be the primary on and off ramp. And another cool thing is introduces burning AKT, right? So the more demand for the cloud, the more AKT is burnt. So that gives value for the AKT token.
And then with the stablecoin, if like somebody earns the stablecoin, how can he change it? I mean, does he have to switch it back to AKT, or can he exchange it to also
switch it back to AKT?
Switch it back. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Thanks.
You can't exchange it. I mean, you can't. Yeah, there's no liquidity for the stablecoin.
Perfect. Thank you.
And we're only introducing the stablecoin to have stability in prices, because that's been a big feature. And the stablecoin is not a general purpose stablecoin like USD. Yeah, and we're not competing with USD in any way.
Okay. Thank you.
Great.
Cool. Thank you, San Holo. And by the way, where are you calling in from?
Right now, I am calling from Austria, but I'm from Italy.
Oh, Austria. I was going to say, if you're Dominican Republic too, I'm like, okay, that's it. We're doing a meetup, holding a Akash conference there. Cool. Thank you so much, San Holo. So I think with that, we're going to wrap things up for today's call. As a reminder, to participate in Testnet, learn more about it, head over to akash.network/testnet to sign up and learn more about our challenges, rewards, all the fun stuff that we're doing. Head over to our Discord channel. We have a couple support channels that are launched as of today inside of there to get your questions answered. We're going to be kind of in there basically over the next 2 weeks as we run through our testnet. I want to thank you all for joining. As one more final reminder, tomorrow and on Thursday, basically Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, we're going to be doing Akash Testnet office hours in our Discord channel. Those will be really just focused on answering questions, any kind of things that you guys need support with in regards to Testnet 3. Head over there Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We'll have some members of the Akash team be able to answer questions for you live and in person. I want to thank you all for joining today. I want to thank Greg for participating in this. We're going to do another one of these Twitter Spaces next week for the next phase of our challenges. So stay tuned for that. You should see some updates in our Twitter page for that. But with that, I'm going to let you guys run. Thanks again for joining, and yeah, we'll see you in the next one.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Greg. Bye, everybody.